everyone, Nurse Victoria here. Welcome to the very first section of our health education series. So today we'll be handling health preference. But before we go into detail, I need us to know that this video is not to disregard anyone's faith or belief system. Of course, the role of faith and prayers in the healing process cannot be overemphasized. And of course, God gives the medical practitioners wisdom for goal-oriented interventions that eventually elicits therapeutic effect. But the emphasis on the video is to correct some impressions. Not every medical emergency, not every medical condition is traceable to a spiritual attack. I am not ruling out the place of the spiritual attacks, but I need us to understand that the place of medical emergency intervention cannot be overstressed. Primarily, when there is an emergency, your first place of contact should be the hospital, not the church. You can always call your pastor or call your prayer team while you're on your way to the hospital, or even bring them to the hospital if need be. I don't see a hospital that will stop you from praying, but I need us to understand that most times, because of this unnecessary delay of taking the patient to the hospital, to the church, or to the prayer house, and then eventually bringing the patient to the hospital later, could result to a complication that could have been avoided if the patients were brought earlier. I'm going to give some specific cases, scenario where because of the delay, there were some complications that resulted. A few months ago, in the clinic where I work, a diabetic patient was rushed in. So prior to that time, the night before, she was taken to a church, a known diabetic patient that eventually got into diabetic coma. Her blood sugar was so high that it was unreadable by the machine, and she was rushed to the church. She was prayed for all through the night, and in the morning, she was eventually brought to the hospital. This time it was so late, but we rushed her, carried out all the emergency intervention just to help, but her blood sugar was so high that the machine could not read it. All the emergency interventions yielded no effect. It proved abortive. We eventually lost the patient. This could have been avoided if, as at when she had that emergency condition, she was brought to the hospital first. I'll give another scenario. A pregnant lady was undergoing her delivery process in the traditional birth attendance hospital or clinic, what we call TBA. And it was noticed that the baby's cord was presenting before the head, the umbilical cord. You know, the umbilical cord is what supplies nutrients and oxygen to the baby. And ordinarily, during normal delivery process, the baby's head is supposed to come first before other parts. But this time, the cord was coming first. So if the delivery continues, the baby might mount pressure on the cord, and then there will be reduced oxygen supply to the baby. So when this was noticed, she was rushed to our clinic. We noticed that every team was on ground, the doctors, the theater staff, everybody was ready to take this emergency surgery. But before we rushed, just about when we were about to rush out to the theater, she insisted she needed to talk to her pastor. We tried to reach the pastor and his number wasn't going through. It was becoming a little annoying because the husband and herself, they were like, we can't do this surgery except we get to speak to their pastor. We waited. You can't go against the patient's will. We waited for that long. About 4 hours later, she finally agreed. The pastor's number went through. They prayed and then we went to the theater. All this while, the baby was in distress because when there's a cord prolapse, is an emergency because the longer you stay, the more chances that the baby is at risk of even dying. But sadly, by the time we brought her to the theater to operate on, the baby died. This would have been avoided if we did not wait. She will be carrying her child if we did not wait this long. I am not saying when you pray when you're ill, God doesn't answer the prayer. But sometimes He also needs us to access this medical care. The place of faith is not disregarded at all, but primarily seek medical attention and then let prayer go concurrently. That way you even yield a better result. Most of the things that are going on right now, once you just get an emergency attack, the first place you go is rush the patient to the church. That shouldn't be it. You could call your church while you're bringing the patient to the hospital, and that even makes the process easier. Complications that would have been avoided ordinarily just occurs because of these wrong practices. The emphasis on the video is not to bring down on anyone's faith system. I am a Christian, and I know the role of prayers and faith. But even the Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. So the emphasis on this video is for us to always access medical care first, and then let prayers come. Even on your way to the hospital, you could be praying. I just hope that the message is passed. So I think this is where we draw the curtain close on this particular topic. You can share, like, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.